The third thing that we want to talk about is the number line, and I'm going to show you this right here. We have two different kinds of number lines. Make sure you can see it clearly. I'll get into focus. The top one is a nice structured dashed number line, and the bottom one is what we would call an open-ended number line. Now, number lines are nothing new. We've talked about number lines for a very, very, very long time. So this material isn't here because it's new, but because it's one of the most foundational ways we talk about numbers and about how we talk about operations on numbers. Again, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. The number line is a very useful tool. In the younger grades, it's very important that we use a nice structured dashed number line. Everything needs to be very concrete, very visible to young students who are learning about numbers. You don't want to introduce this very abstract, open-ended number line. You may even see at later parts in the chapter or in later parts of this book, where I might use an open-ended number line because you as a parent or teacher can recognize what I mean by that open-ended line. But it's a little too abstract for a young student. So it's very important to think structure, structure, structure when we talk with young students using a number line. Now, why is a number line important? How is it different than the other methods? You think about a 10 frame, our first method, that is thinking about numbers really in relation to 10. So that's how we're creating meaning about numbers. We're looking at how do different numbers relate to the value 10. Greater than 10, less than 10, how much, more than or less than 10. That's really how we use 10 frames. Then we talked about arrays, where we can create them with objects, like physical objects, or we can allow students to draw them out. In that case, we're talking about numbers in terms of how we can put them together, break them apart. Can we make them into equal groups? Can we put them into a rectangular shape, or can we not? A number line is different than both of those two strategies. A number line looks at numbers in relation to other numbers. So it's not just, if I talk about the number 8, here I'm not just talking about 8 all by itself. I can see very clearly that 8 is just below 9. It's just above 7. I can see that we position it to the right of 0, which 0 is a concept that we have to teach them about too, but that's a whole other issue. But if I do have a number line that starts at 0, I can see, oh, I'm moving to the right of 0. It's greater than 5. Things like that. It also helps us later on when we're talking about fractions to think about, well, if I were to break apart 3 into 3 different pieces, how would I do that? And they can see very clearly that we can break them apart. So number lines are very, very useful in teaching basic arithmetic skills. So the biggest takeaway here is make sure when you're dealing with very young kids, don't jump ahead and don't use an open-ended number line. Make sure that everything is very concrete, very visible to them, and that should help them with their knowledge of numbers. And that should wrap up for now the information in Chapter 3.